back to the Isn't That Rich podcast. I'm your host, Jill Franks.
And I'm Jared Gravatt. And if you just graduated high school or college, it's a huge milestone. So big congrats. But today's episode is all about what happens next. So credit scores, checking accounts, how to invest, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, all those things I didn't quite cover at school or in your history classes. Those are the things we're going to cover today. Yeah. So we have all of the tools in this episode for what to do after you graduate. So we're going to get started. The first thing after you graduate, we're going to talk about checking and savings accounts. So this is going to be your first real bank account. You might already have one. You might have that old savings account your parents originally opened for you, and it might charge you monthly fees. It might not be the right account for you anymore.
Yeah. So I was 30 years old until I found out that you could actually find a checking account that can work for you and actually earn interest and make money. So that's one of the things we want to talk about is just finding the right account. At the bank, we have a Kasasa Saver account and a Kasasa checking account where you can earn interest, which is pretty great.
I was the same way as you, Jared. Like, I had no idea the account that my parents had set up. I think I had like a checking account and a saving account. I don't know if it cost me money every month. I don't know if I ever earned any interest on it. I think it was just your basic run-of-the-mill checking account. Yeah. And I don't think maybe I earned a little bit of interest on my savings account.
I don't think I did. I was just like, all right, I don't know how this works.
And then when I went to college, so I grew up in a really small town, and it was a credit union that I had my original checking account in. And then I went to Minneapolis for school, and I was like, I can't do any of my banking needs because there's not an ATM. I can't deposit my checks here. So I needed to open a different account. And I ended up going to a Wells Fargo bank or just one of the big banks that, and I have no idea what account I signed up for, but I had a credit card that they set me up for. It wasn't what I needed at the time. So it's important that you check back in with your bank after you graduate and make sure you're in the right account for you. Right. And Jared mentioned this awesome checking account product that Farmer State Bank has. I think is really great for college graduates and even high school graduates. It's a rewards checking account that is completely free. It's one of our most popular checking accounts. It's actually the Kasasa cash back account. Essentially, you get 3% cash back on all your debit card purchases up to $7.50 a month, which is pretty great. So you're getting cash back deposited into your account every month if you meet the qualifications. Yeah. So if you just think about that, $7.50 a month can be up to $90 a year just for spending money like you normally do.
Yeah. You're not doing anything extra.
Nope. Just swiping your card, having a checking account. So it might be a good option for college graduates. Plus there's no category restrictions. So a lot of debit cards or a lot of credit cards out there have those category restrictions where you can only earn those rewards when you spend on those kind of things. Like if you're buying gas or if you're buying groceries, but this one, doesn't have a category limit. And what's really cool about this checking account is that you get up to $20 a month in nationwide ATM fee refunds. So if you are in college, like I was in a different city and you needed to use an ATM and there wasn't one specifically for your bank nearby, you can still go use that ATM, pay the whatever $3, $6 fees to get your cash out, save the receipt and bring it back to the bank, and they'll reimburse you up to $20 a month, which is pretty great.
It is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great incentive.
So that's the Kasasa cashback. Do you want to talk about some of the restrictions or how the qualifications?
Easy, stipulations with it. So all you have to do is just make 12 debit card purchases a month, which I think most people do. It's pretty easy.
I have to stop and talk about this because we met with our Kasasa rep the other week and we were looking at some of our statistics, and Ashley, she's not a big swiper.
No, she's not.
And so we were looking at the statistics, and people that are set up in the account on average do 50 swipes.
Oh, wow.
A month. So I'm like, man,
12.
I am behind. I need to up my swiping for my debit card. But yeah, so 12 is very feasible for people.
Yeah. I don't carry cash, so I'm always swiping. Like,
I'm interested to see what your swipe rate is every month.
I need to look it up, actually. You might be shocked. So
you hit your qualifications.
I definitely hit my qualifications. I never get the email where it's like,
sorry, next month. Okay. So 12 swipes a month. What's the next one?
Yep. The next one's going to have at least one direct deposit or ACH payment. So if you're working a part-time job, full-time job or whatever, just set it up to have, direct deposit into your account.
Yeah.
Pretty easy, which is nice because you don't have to worry about it. The next one's going to be enroll in e-statements, which, for a lot of younger people or just graduated high school and college, you don't really want a paper statement anyway. So there's the benefit of just getting that emailed to you. So you need to sign up for that. And then the last thing is going to be log into online or mobile banking at least once, which when I was in college, I'm logging in to see if I can afford the Starbucks coffee. You're
like, before
every purchase, I'm like, let me check my app real fast.
Yeah.
So
let me transfer. Let me
transfer some money over. So that should be pretty easy too.
Yeah.
So those are like the easiest stipulations to earn that interest.
Yeah. And we'll include those all in the show notes, all the fine print and all that. But it's a really great account. You're going to earn money back every month up to $750. And I think it's a great option.
Yeah, it is great.
And if you miss doing all those, this is still a free checking account. So a lot of checking accounts charge you $2, $5, $10 a month just to have a checking account. This one's free even if you don't do those things. So
that's great.
Good to point out. Yeah. So
another thing would be, we recommend linking your Kasasa cashback account to your Kasasa saver account. So basically every bit of cash back that you earn can automatically be transferred into your savings account. So you're not having to think or manually do that. It can do that automatically, which I have found for me when things can just be automated and be transferred out, it's like out of sight, out of mind. I'm not spending that money. So you definitely want to save. And that's just another easy way to save that money you're making.
So like that $750, if you hit your qualifications, you can set it up to go directly into your savings.
Automatically.
Oh, that's awesome. I think the saver also gives you 1% back APY, which is pretty incredible. So instead of it just sitting and not earning any interest, you can transfer money that you want to save and earn a little bit of interest on that too, which is great. And it's a free savings account. So yeah.
I love it. Another thing to consider is, a lot of times when you're a minor, you have a parent on that account or a parent helped you set up that account. They still might be listed as joint owners in that account, which means they can legally withdraw money from it any time. So, not everyone has trustworthy or responsible parents.
Yeah.
And so you may, want to get them off that account, those kinds of things, so that the potential of they're not draining your bank account.
Yeah. It's not even about trust. Like maybe you completely trust your parents, but when you become an adult, like you're 18 years old or you're graduating college, it's more about like privacy and kind of that independence factor. You might not want your mom to see every purchase or logging into your bank account and seeing every swipe. So, I mean, I know all of our 22, 23, 24-year-olds are really responsible, but if you're going to say just one more or something on a Friday night and you don't want your mom to know about it, like you just might want to set that separate account or open up a new account and get the joint.
My mom would be like, now, sweetie, you spent $200 on Taco Bell again.
Let's talk about your budget, Jared.
Yeah. No. Another thing, though, that is important when you're opening up an account is to have a beneficiary on that account. Yeah. So that could be a family member, whoever. So if something did happen to you, that money will go to them.
Yeah.
But they don't have access to your money.
Well, and I didn't even know that a beneficiary was a thing when I was that age. Like I had no idea, and I didn't set anybody up on any of my accounts, I don't think. So when I opened that new account when I went to college, I don't think I had a beneficiary on it. So it's so a beneficiary is somebody that you can name to get your money should something happen to you.
Yeah.
And it's not like they have access to your funds or anything. It's just the person you name to take.
Yeah.
To give the money to, and rather than it going to the government. Yeah.
You don't want
or
that.
to small claims. Yeah. All that good stuff. So
the process is super easy. You can go to the website at myfsb.com or come in. We love helping people get started. It's such an easy process. So
set up your checking and savings account after you graduate and make sure it's your own and that you're in the right account.
Yeah. That's a good first step, I think.
Yeah. So the next thing is when you graduate college or high school, chances are it's time for you to get a job. And chances are you're getting your first paycheck and you're needing to decide where that money should go. So your paycheck hits your new checking account and you're like, I am rich, I have this money, and all of a sudden it's the end of the month and you have $11.47 left in your checking account because you didn't tell it where to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in case your Hulu account gets declined or like you're at McDonald's drive-thru and your car gets declined, it's probably because you don't have an idea of how to budget your paycheck the right way.
Yeah. Maybe it's not as big as you thought it would be because of all the things that they're taking out.
That's such a good point. I think we should talk about that because in the real world, when you land your first job, the number you're offered or your like salary or your hourly wage, and this is a surprise to a lot of people, isn't the number that actually hits your bank account.
Right.
At the end of the month. So like if you look at your pay stub, you're like, oh, I get $20 an hour or I get $30 an hour, whatever that might be. But what actually is deposited every month is way less than that.
Because they're taking out taxes, which is a huge chunk.
Yes.
Social Security, Medicare, maybe health insurance, your retirement.
Yep.
All those kinds of things, which are going to make that direct deposit into your bank account a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So don't base like your rent or your car or even your spending off of, what you get paid. You want to look at what you get at the month after all those things are deducted when you start to budget.
Yes, I like to talk about like what it's actually called. So what comes into your account or what your salary is set at is your gross pay. And what you actually get deposited into your account is your net pay for beginners, if they're not sure what that means. So that lower number. And while we're kind of talking about this, so you've just been hired for your job. It's your first day and you sit down with your HR department. You're going and filling out all of those forms. Like you're going to get a W-4 form that you're going to fill out. And this was really confusing for me because this is the form that you fill out with your employer that tells them how much to take out every week to pay your federal taxes from each paycheck. And this is really confusing. You're like, do I claim 0? Do I claim 1? Am I head of household? Do I have dependents? Am I going to get a giant refund? Do I want to owe money later? So that's something that's confusing. So we're going to kind of tell you what to claim, I think. Yeah.
So a good rule of thumb, if you're single and you don't have kids, it's safe to say you can claim as one.
As one.
A one.
The number one. Okay.
But you can also claim 0, which you may end up getting more of a tax refund at the end of the year. So it just depends. But if you're single with no kids, 1 is really what you want to pick. That should be like the safest bet. However, if you do 0, you most likely will get a tax return back because you're kind of paying a little bit more.
Yeah. What do you do? Do you do 1 or 0?
I honestly don't.
See, I don't know what I claimed either, and that's so bad.
Yeah. But I owed the government some money this year, so probably 1. No,
because making so much money. No, I'm just kidding. But I think so as you get older, you realize you don't want to give more money to the government up front.
Yeah.
And have them use all that money all year. You would rather give them less money and have less of a refund, in my opinion. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
I feel like in college, when I worked like my college job, I was like, yes, all of us, I'm going to get this rebate or this refund check and I'm going to go on spring break with this money. But as you get older, you're like, I would rather have the money throughout the year.
Yeah.
So claiming 1.
I don't know. But sometimes it's nice because if you do it and it's kind of like a little bonus, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But if you do like side hustle, like I did a bunch of like side hustle stuff, you know, you need to make sure that you're setting that money aside for taxes, which is why I had the government money for taxes this year, because when you're self-employed for like side hustles, you still have to pay taxes on that money.
Yes, you do. That's a really good point. You don't realize when you're making extra money, make sure that you save that percentage behind.
Because your employer, you may be right with you're not going to owe anything, but anything extra that you're doing, whether that's you're mowing lawns or you're doing whatever, you gotta
save money aside.
Saved.
Yeah.
So I actually created a account just for taxes. So when I get paid for side gigs, I deduct 30% and put it into that tax account. So at the end of the year, I'm not going to be like, oh.
That's so smart. Yeah. So you have a separate account that you just immediately put money aside for.
Yep. As soon as I get paid for just kind of like a side gig, I set it aside.
Out of sight, out of mind. Not going to spend it.
Yep.
So if you're still really confused, I know the IRS has this like paycheck calculator online, and you can go, if you're starting your first job and you look at your salary, you want to figure out what to claim on your paycheck. This like calculator takes all that guesswork out of it. You can go on to irs.gov and go to the paycheck calculator and type in all your criteria, dependents, all that stuff, and it'll tell you what you should claim on your paycheck.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
So that's,
okay.
At the end of the month or at the end of the year, you're not freaking out. So
So here's a good kind of starting point that we recommend. So we recommend 50% of your paycheck goes towards needs, which is your rent, your groceries, your gas, your phone. Those are needs.
Phone, I would say it's a need by now, I guess.
At this time in life, maybe.
Yeah.
So 50% goes to that. 30% goes towards wants. So think of the fun stuff, shopping, takeout, entertainment, concerts, that kind of stuff, which, when you're young, you want to do that. It's important. And then 20% of your paycheck, you want it to go towards savings. So even if that's $25 a paycheck, you want to make sure that that's going into, what I do is I do the automatic withdraw every month. It just takes a certain chunk of money out of my account into my savings account. So I'm not having to do that. And so I'm not spending that money accidentally.
Yeah.
So
that's really good. So setting up a budget where it's 50, 30, and 20% for needs, wants, and savings.
Yeah.
And I love that you said the automatic withdrawal.
And you can create different accounts. Like I was just talking to Taylor, my friend, and like she's like, I have like a travel account. So every month it takes a certain amount and goes to like my travel account, which is like a fun account type of thing. And so when I want to do this, I can use that. When it's gone, that type of thing. So you can create accounts based off of kind of this structure. So you can have your main needs checking account, which is going to be like your rent, your car payment, all those kinds of things. And then you can do like a wants account if you want, where you can say, I'm going to take this percentage and I'm going to automatically withdraw that into that account so that when that's empty, I know no more fun. So
no more
like that
fun
kind of thing. But I really recommend going that approach. I think the more structure you can have, the better. Just like even like with me and like the tax account, like when I'm getting these side gigs, I want to make sure that I'm putting that money aside outside of like a emergency fund or a savings account.
Yeah.
That way I know that money is designated for taxes.
That's so good. When I first started banking, I didn't realize you could have multiple checking accounts for different things. I thought you could have one account at a bank, one checking, one savings. I didn't realize that you can have multiples of all of these. So that's a really good point. Another thing people don't realize, or I didn't realize when I was starting out, is if you have a savings account, you can only withdraw a specific number of times every month. I think at Farmer State Bank, it's 6 times a month you can withdraw from your savings. So if you are putting money in your savings And then you think, okay, every time my checking account's getting low, I'm just going to transfer $10. I'm just going to transfer $20 or $50, whatever I need to cover my checking, but I want to keep my money in my savings. Just know that there is a limit on that. And at one point, I remember I was doing it more often. I was just like transferring out of my check or my savings account, and I just couldn't transfer money. It just like, I was like, at the grocery store and needed to transfer money and I couldn't transfer money. And I called the bank. They're like, no, Jill, there's a limit. It's for your security. And it's also like, that's what a savings account is meant for, is to save your money. So if you're constantly feeding it back to your checking, just this budget will help you with that.
Yes,
so like
absolutely.
Stick to your budget. Yeah.
So again, your net is what you get paid. That's where you're going to base that 50, 30, 20, and then it'll be great.
Yeah, that's a good point. So don't base your budget off of your gross pay, base it off of your net pay.
Yeah.
Good point.
And try and maybe set up the automatic transfers for a couple months and see if you have it set up correctly based off of your needs. So you may want to change that to where you have a little bit more in your needs account, and maybe not put as much into your wants account, that kind of stuff. And that way in the future, it's again just brainless. You're not thinking about it or you're doing it. It's just all set
automatic. I love that.
Yeah.
If you don't set up a budget like this, everything becomes a need. You know, like all of a sudden, all your wants become a need. And so if you can really pinpoint what is a need, what you actually need to survive every month,
right,
it's crucial to saving money.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else you want to say about budgeting or what you actually like, how to manage a paycheck?
No, it's kind of what you said. Money doesn't disappear by accident.
Yeah.
It's because you're not, managing it well, or you're not giving it a job. We always say every dollar you make needs to have a job, and you need to think of your money like that, as you're getting older and making decisions, where is this dollar going and how is it working for me?
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just going to blow it and you're going to be like,
I'm not saving any money. Where is it going?
Right.
Yeah. So true.
Yep.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about, and it might seem boring, but it's super important. And we're going to talk about why it matters. It's your credit score. Your credit score, if you're fresh out of college or school, you might think, why would I need to have a credit score? But trust us, it does matter. So basically a credit score is your financial reputation. It tells lenders, your landlord, even some like jobs or employers, like how trustworthy you are when it comes to your money, and whether or not you like it. It will either open doors for you or slam them right shut in your face.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because it's like, why would I give you money or something or a loan if I can't trust you?
Right.
Yeah. Things in life are built on trust, and it's not, sometimes it's earned and not given. So you got to earn that trust.
Yeah. You got to show those creditors that you're a reliable person, that if I give you this money on a loan, you're going to pay me back. So a credit score will help them determine if you're going to do that or not.
Yeah. Basically, again, like we always recommend, get started early. Some people aren't, privileged to have like a cosigner or anything like that, but that can help. But there's other avenues that you can take that can help you start to build up that credit as well.
Yeah. So if you're just getting started, you can apply for a student credit card or a secured credit card. So you don't actually, so on a secured credit card, it's like a training card, right? So it's backed by a deposit you make. So it's easier to get approved, even if you don't have credit. So if you're starting out, don't have parents that put you on their credit card, or you haven't started to build their credit, you can use this secured credit card to build your credit. So what you do is you deposit money towards ahead of time for that credit card. They give you the credit card, and it's almost like a debit card how it works.
Yeah. I think it's important as you get started to create boundaries for yourself, and say, I'm only going to use this credit card for gas and groceries. That's it.
Yeah.
I think kind of the pitfall with especially younger people is, if if you use your credit card for everything, you can definitely get caught in a bad situation. So just say to yourself, this credit card is only for gas and groceries, or, you know, something that you spend about the same amount on regularly every month, so that you're not like shocked. Yeah.
I know I got into some credit card not issues. I just had a larger balance on my card that I couldn't pay off every month. And then that interest started accruing, and all of a sudden I had this huge monthly payment where if I would have just been being responsible with my credit card and knew how a credit card worked at that point in my life, it would have alleviated so much issue in my early 20s, you know? So instead of spending $300 on a credit card payment, I could have been putting half of that away,
right,
you know, for savings, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But
a lot of credit cards, you know, they're charging up to like 22% interest. So basically what that looks like is if you know, carry $1,000 balance, you'll pay over $220 per year for nothing.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's so much money.
So you want to make sure that you're paying that off right away, and not just paying the minimum type of thing.
Yeah, that was something I think somebody once told me, and it was wrong, that if you wanted to build credit, only pay the minimum balance. But in actuality, it does not, you know, you still earn credit or build your credit score if you pay your payment in full or your credit card bill in full every month. So forget what you've been told. Listen to this, pay your credit card in full every month.
Yep.
Yeah.
And don't max it out either.
Yeah.
And doing all those things, you're really going to bump up your credit score. Another thing is checking your credit score. And so that's kind of an exciting thing to do.
Yeah.
You can use something like Credit Karma, or your FSB mobile banking app to monitor your credit so that you can track your progress. So there's a lot of like free websites and stuff out there that you can use to check that. I think even my credit card, you can get like a free credit. They'll show you your score that way. So
I know it's kind of fun to see. I think my FICO credit score shows on my Capital One credit card, and it's fun to see every month if you're paying it off or like what you're doing, whether it's your credit card utilization or you're paying your bill on time or you've had a good credit history, you know, a super long credit history. Like it goes up and down every month. So it's just fun to monitor that. And it's almost like a game. It's like, okay, I'm going to pay this off right now. And I know my credit score is going to go up and I can see it right there. I don't know. I love to watch it. So monitor your credit score, however you do it, whether it's like freecreditreport.com or what is it? I think that's, we'll link the actual, the one we recommend. That's free and doesn't have anything attached to it.
Don't pay for it. You don't need to pay for it.
No.
Yeah.
So,
and so why having a good credit score is important. It's going to give you more options, lower rates, basically fewer headaches. I remember my first car, I didn't have any credit. So thankfully I had a parent that co-signed for me and I had like a lower interest rate, which is nice. Then when I finally bought my next car solo, had a lot higher interest rate because my credit wasn't built up enough. So I was kind of like, oh, I see how this works, you know? But the more credit that you build over time and you do it responsibly, you're going to get lower interest rates, more options, all those kinds of things.
Those doors will open to you. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing, you know, you're a student. Chances are you didn't pay for your entire schooling all up front. You might have a student loan. We're going to talk about that because you're probably not ready for this, but you're going to have those student loan payments coming up pretty soon. So if you borrowed any money for college, chances are you have a 6-month grace period after you graduate before those payments start kicking in. So this is called your grace period.
And so the grace period's not a vacation. It's not just a free ride. This is the time that you really need to spend to prep. It's basically a prep period to get organized so that you can understand really what you need to do when you start making those payments.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. Depending on the type of loan you have, interest might start accruing the day your grace period starts. So as soon as you graduate, or that 6 months after it ends, after the grace period ends. So if the interest doesn't start accruing right away, this is an awesome opportunity for you. It's like this golden ticket to be able to start paying down the balance early. So you're not having to take care of that interest right away. Why not push the money? You know what your monthly bill is going to be. Why don't you start paying that now and start getting used to making that payment when it's not required, and that'll actually kick your balance down before interest starts accruing on it. So you'll get ahead of the game a little bit.
Yeah, even if it's just a little bit, $25, $50, you want that to go towards your principal and not your interest, because then you'll be paying a lot less.
Yeah. So less over time is pretty great. It's like getting a head start in a race, really. I don't know. You'll just be ahead of the game.
So if you want to know what your payment will be, there's a website that's really helpful. You can go to studentaid.gov, and that's really where you're going to see your loan balance, who your loan server is, and when your first payment is due. So go to studentaid.gov, and that's going to be a really helpful website so that you can kind of create a good action plan moving forward.
Yeah, that, like we talked about before, like even if those payments aren't starting and you want to get a head start, this is where you find out what that amount will be. So you might as well check it out. So now that you know what your payment is going to be, you can kind of start evaluating your repayment options. There are two ways to do that. And the first one is, you know, you have this steady income, you landed your dream job, you have a steady flow of income, you can select a standard repayment plan. So you are going to pay it off the fastest in whatever the term of your loan is. So right away, standard repayment plan.
That's good.
And then the second one.
Yeah. So another one's going to be your income driven repayment plan. So if your income's still low, you may want to consider this one. These base your payment on what you earn. And in some cases, your payment could be as low as $0 and still count towards for forgiveness. So yeah, this is really good if you still kind of have a lower income going on.
Or like haven't secured your job or career. So another thing is, if you're working for a nonprofit or a public school or government agency, check into public service loan forgiveness. You've just got to be on the right repayment plan to make qualifying payments for it to count, but this could be an option for you. So there's this loan forgiveness for public services out there.
Yeah, and it's really important that you're on the right one, or you may be disqualified for loan forgiveness. So
yeah, choosing the wrong payment plan would be awful.
No.
Yeah.
So look into those.
Yeah. Also, don't wait until that first bill shows up for repaying your student loans. Get ahead. Use your grace period to make those early payments and pick the right plan. Don't be blindsided. Yeah.
And you're not alone. Make sure that you can talk to anyone. You can talk to your bank. You can talk to your loan servicer or nonprofit credit counselor. There's a bunch of resources and people out there where it's their job to help you. So don't freak out.
Yeah. I feel like there's so much controversy over student loan repayment right now. And like just being aware of what's going on and different ways that you can repay it. I mean, the more informed you can be, the better. So we're going to talk about something that's kind of fun. When you graduate, chances are you've made some graduation money. I don't know about you, but I always looked forward to those graduation parties my parents threw for us. And we would get cards and they were filled with cash, and grandma would give us like $100 and we could, have this little nest egg built up.
And I think for a lot of graduates, that money is already mentally spent. So you're like, I'm going to buy a nice leather couch and this, or I'm going to go out and have fun or whatever, I think they've already mentally spent that money that they've received, which.
Yeah. And that's totally understandable. I mean, those things, some of them are real needs. Like if you needed to upgrade a car or buy a car, you have to buy so many things when you move out on your own. And from a shower curtain, I remember buying a can opener and thinking, oh my gosh, this is $8. What else do I need for my kitchen? Like there are so many things, cleaning supplies, things you need to be prepared when you move out on your own for the first time. You
can spend that money either just for a moment of comfort or foundation of stability. But I think life is all about balance.
Yes.
So you can do both.
Yep.
I think a lot of kids may think you're either totally miserable or you can't have any fun or anything like that. But no, I think life is all about balance. So we're going to give you some tools on how you can use that graduate money for both.
So you're going to budget your graduation money. The simple rule is 30% of your grad money should get you settled. So what you need for your apartment, or if you do need to upgrade that laptop, go ahead and use 30% of what you earn to either save for or use it for that. 40% you're going to put into an emergency fund. And this is the first time we've really talked about emergency funds on this episode, but you're going to need to start saving for when you actually need something's going to happen in the first year you graduate that you're going to need some extra cash for. So 40% of that grad money, put it towards your emergency fund. Like your AC could go out or your car battery dies. There's so many things that happen. And then the last 30%, you're going to put it in your savings account. You're going to stash it away, put it in your savings account, and start to build towards long-term savings goals. Yep. So whether that's your vacation, your first home, starting to pay off that college loan earlier, that's where you're going to store the other 30% of that grad money.
That's good.
Yeah.
So here's kind of what it looks like. So basically, let's say if you got $1,000 in graduation gifts, you'd spend $300 and then save $400 for emergencies, and then put the $300 towards your future. So that's $300 in a Casasa Saver, earning 1% APY. That starts working immediately, and then you can keep building it, and that's kind of the start of your safety net.
That's awesome. Start saving right away. Let's be honest, having money in savings will feel way better 3 months from now than when you blew that first money on luxury or whatever that, however you want to binge spend your money when you graduate.
We're not saying don't enjoy it, just don't spend it all on one thing, because if we've learned anything as adults, there really are emergencies in life, and there really are all these surprise things that come up. Yeah. And the more adult you are, you don't have the cushion of a parent or grandparent or friend rescuing you and paying for those things.
Exactly.
So you gotta save.
So use your grad money wisely. Save up.
Yep.
The next thing we're going to talk about is what Jared mentioned earlier, is your side hustle or career, and why every dollar that you make in these first years counts so much. So there's this awkward season when you graduate. Either you're starting your first real job, or you're piecing together a couple jobs, trying to make ends meet until you land that career. Yeah.
I think a lot of people think, I don't make enough to save or to do all those things, and they're living paycheck to paycheck. But that's kind of like the lie that I think we tell ourselves sometimes. Yeah. When we're not making a lot of money.
Yeah. If you can't manage a $500 paycheck when you're starting out, you won't magically get it together to manage a $5,000 one. So your habits beat your income every single time. So get comfortable building these habits right from the get-go, from your first paycheck. Yeah.
So let's say you're waiting tables or doing freelance work. You might make $1,200 one month, and then the next $800. That doesn't mean you can't budget if it's inconsistent pay. I know a lot of bartenders may have a great weekend and nothing at all. It just means you need to base your plan on your lowest expected income. So treat everything above that as bonus money. So for example, the $1,200 and the $800, you want to base everything off of that $800. Yeah. Does that make sense? So,
yep. Yeah. I think that's so smart, because build your life off of what you're going to build or have, instead of keeping up with the Joneses. And I know when I was in my 20s, my friends were always like, oh, let's go out, let's go do this fun thing, and you would feel that pressure to spend money that you didn't have. When you're in your 20s, you're not making a ton. You're starting at the low end of the spectrum when it comes to salaries and income. You're not going to get your $100,000 paying job right out at the get-go. So just try not to play keeping up with the Joneses with your friends, no matter how much pressure there will be to do so.
That's good. Yeah. So even if you just save $50 every paycheck, that's ends up turning out to be $1,300 a year. So with that money, you could build an emergency fund, pay off your credit card, or even start investing.
Yeah.
That's not, $50, you can do that.
Yeah. Definitely. Yep. Every dollar needs to have a purpose, like we mentioned earlier. So stick to your budget and just give every dollar a purpose. The next thing is the most important thing we're going to mention today. And it's something every grad should listen up to, because this is the most important thing. If you understand this concept today, it could completely change your financial future for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that would be compound interest.
I feel like it deserves a round of applause because none of us started. So everybody tells you this when you're like in school. They're like, save, compound interest, but no one really gets it. And you need to get it. And so what is compound interest?
So it's not just a fancy term. It's a way regular people can build wealth over time, even make six figures. So it's like Jill's saying, it's extremely important to do that.
So think of it like this. So you have this big open space and you plant one little tree now, and eventually it becomes this forest in 20 years from now. All of a sudden your trees are huge, it's grown. That's kind of how compound interest works. So you plant the tree, you put in the work now, and all of a sudden it exponentially grows. Yeah. So that's how compound interest works.
Like a snowball, if you start small and it starts rolling, the longer it rolls, the bigger it gets.
Yeah. So you start saving that money here. It's going to earn interest, and then that money will earn interest, and then that money earn interest on top of it. So it's just this compound snowball effect, like Jared said. So here's the part no one told us when we graduate. Like I said, if you start saving just a little bit now, even $25 or $50 a month, it can grow into tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you're older and ready to retire. And that's not an exaggeration. That's truly math and how investing works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you save $50 a month and you're 22 years old. If you put that money into something that earns an average of 10% return, like a basic investment account, you'd have over $100,000 by the age of 52. And that's just giving $50 a month.
So that's amazing.
It's really amazing.
Yeah. For doing nothing hardly, except for just being disciplined.
Just moving it over.
Yeah. So now you're probably thinking, okay, what's an investment account? Like, what do you mean? Where do I put this money? And we're going to walk you through some investment options for when you're starting out. So number one, we mentioned this already, build your emergency fund. Before you invest in anything fancy, start with your emergency fund. So that's money you can grab fast when life comes your way.
Another great place to start would be your Kasasa Saver account. Again, like we said, it's free. You earn 1% APY on balances up to $10,000. And that automatically pulls in your Kasasa cash earnings from checking as well.
Yeah. It's a perfect first step. You can start small, like we said, $10 to $25 per paycheck. And over time, you're just going to build that little cushion. Yeah. So typically people say emergency fund is like $1,000. So once you have $1,000 and that from adding $25 to $50 a month in it, you can probably start pushing it in there. But our goal is to save enough for 6 months of expenses. So start with that $1,000 and then build from there.
Yeah. So once you've got that emergency fund started, your next move we recommend would be opening up a Roth IRA. It's just in a type of account for long-term savings, especially for retirement.
Yeah. And when you're young and your income qualifications meet for a Roth IRA, it's perfect. So what a Roth IRA does and why it's so magical is you put money in there that's already been taxed. So then once it's in there, it grows tax-free. So it's going to grow and grow and grow, like with that compound interest we talked about. And then when you're ready to retire one day, you get to pull out the original money you invested and all of that growth tax-free, which is pretty great.
It is.
So usually anytime an investment account grows, you have to pay taxes on that growth. With a Roth IRA, you do not. It's amazing. Which is great.
Yeah. So if you put in $1,000 and it grows to be $10,000, by the time you take that out, it's not being taxed. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And a lot of people think, I need to have a full-time job, or I need to, you don't need a full-time job to open a Roth IRA. You can do this on your own. You can just go to a bank. and deposit money. If you're babysitting, you can, and if you're earning income in some way, this is an investment tool for you. Yeah. The next account we're going to talk about does come with employment. That's your 401k or 403b. So this is a job benefit you should not ignore.
So these are types of retirement savings accounts. So most commonly, your employer might offer you a 401k. That's really where most like private companies use. If you're working for a school or a hospital or a nonprofit, they'll probably offer you a 403b instead. But really, they work
pretty much the same. Yeah. So here's what they do. They take money straight out of your paycheck before you see it, and they put it into a retirement account in your name. So you're saving without having, it's another one of those automatic savings thing that you don't have to remember to do. It's just automatic. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of companies, which is really great, will kind of match what you put in up to a certain percentage, which means, so if you agree each paycheck, you're going to do, let's say, I don't know, 5%, and that company is going to offer 5%. That's extra money into your bank account. So if that's a service that the company that you're working for offers, you really want to take advantage of that because it's free money.
Yeah. And when you're looking for jobs, you should look for companies that offer a 401k. So if you're evaluating benefits or two jobs, you're comparing two jobs, maybe select the one that offers a 401k, right?
Right.
So let's take a real life example of this. So your job pays you $2,000 a month and your employer offers a 3% match. That means you can contribute 3% of your paycheck, which is $60, into this account. And now your employer also contributes $60, another 3%. So that's a total of $120 you just saved every month, which is incredible.
It is incredible.
Whatever you put in, your employer also does.
Yep. So that's $720 in free money every year. So if you keep that over time and with that investment growth, you're really building that retirement without even noticing the money is gone. So it's great.
If you don't enroll in your company's 401k plan, you're literally leaving money on the table that is counted as part of your salary. So when HR, you're in that office, they hand you that packet, you see the retirement section, don't skip it. Ask the questions and say yes to having your employer match your percentage.
Yeah.
So
the next one we're going to talk about is robo-advisors. So if your employer doesn't offer a retirement account, this could be a really great option. This is kind of where robo-advisors come in. And it's kind of like a newer thing too, which is great.
Yeah. And people are always worried about investing. They think they need like a financial advisor. They need it. And yes, you probably do need that down the road. But if you're starting out and you don't know anything about the stock market, robo-advisors a really great move. So basically what it is, it's a smart app or website that builds a simple investment portfolio for you based on your goals and how comfortable you are with risk. Yeah.
So it's going to ask you a few questions like, what are you saving for? How long until you need the money? Are you okay with some ups and downs, or do you want to play it safe? And that's really going to depend on how risky it's willing to invest.
Yeah. And so one thing that I've been told is that when you're young and starting out, it's better to be a little more, or you have the option to be a more risky, I guess, with your investments. So you can have your portfolio built more towards like the stocks rather than the bond market. So that will be what your robo-advisor figures out for you. But yeah. So there's some apps, some robo apps that we like. Betterment is a really great option for a robo advisor. There's SoFi Invest as another option, or Wealthfront. So they build that plan for you and they divide your money across lots of different investments like stocks, bonds, and then they keep it balanced over time for you.
Yeah. And it's not for like millionaires to start. You can start with just $10, $20, and it'll basically manage all of that for you. So start small, try it out, see how it works, see what you think.
Yeah. Cause when I started out with investing, it was way too scary for me to like start with my Charles Schwab account. And like, I would have known nothing. So I think if you're starting out, and wanting to start investing on your own, robo-advisor is the way to go.
Yeah.
So kind of to wrap up the options that we've talked about, if your job offers you a 401k or 403b, say yes, especially if there's a match. That's just free money. And if not, or you want to do something extra, try a robo-advisor like we mentioned. It kind of just takes the stress out of getting started.
Yeah. You don't need a ton of money to start. You just need kind of the momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good. There's a lot of information we just threw at you today, but for all of our new grads, again, just congratulations and welcome to the real world. You don't have to figure all of this out at once, but being smart with money is so important for your financial future. You'll just end up with way more freedom later and down the road.
Yeah. And the thing is like having a plan is going to really eliminate stress. Yeah. I don't think you realize how much stress you could potentially step into when you're irresponsible with your finances. And this is kind of the time that you should be having, fun and excitement. So to create these, boundaries in place is really going to create a lot of a happier environment for you, for sure.
Definitely. The 20s are hard. 20s are hard, but they're a lot of fun for sure. And hopefully you'll now have the tools. And if you want to talk to any of us about this or get started, you can always stop by any of our Farmer State Bank branches, and one of our customer service reps will walk you through any of this. It's just pretty great.
Absolutely.
So, well, we hope you have enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next time.
So, Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.